Joshua and Bernice Abubedu Lansa. It's now time to talk about our environment. You know how important that is, right? Yes, because it affects our general well-being. Talk of climate change, talk of pollution, so many things attached to the environment and its importance to our existence. This morning I've been joined by the country director, Pure Earth Ghana. It's a non-profit NGO involved in doing work around the environment, and the board chairman of Pure Earth Blacksmith Initiative, Conrad Meyer. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Good morning.
And let me just start by asking what Pure Earth is all about. Let me start with you, Esmond.
Right, thank you very much for having us. So Pure Earth is an environmental health NGO working to address issues of pollution, especially in middle to low-income countries like Ghana. The focus is on preventing lead poisoning in children, pregnant women, and lactating mothers.
Interesting. So it means that you've been doing some work at Agbogboshi, right? Or that doesn't...
Yes, we've had an e-waste project in Agbogboshi. We try to work with our partners there to address the issues of waste, e-waste in Agbogboshi. And I think that pilot has been successful.
Yeah, because that's the only place my mind went to when you said lead, because we know the e-waste that happens over there. So let me come to you, Mr. Meyer. You are visiting Ghana. Is this your first time?
I'm embarrassed to say it's my first time. I'm so excited to be here. I was due to come here about 3 years ago, and it was right at the start of COVID. So
too bad.
Unfortunately, it delayed my trip, but I'm delighted to be here now.
Great to have you. I hope you feel comfortable. Do you?
I feel very comfortable.
Great. Tell us why you are here.
Well, I'm here because we're hoping that Ghana will be a flagship country for us in our lead program going forward. Ghana has a history of being a leader in Africa, and we think we've picked a country that will set an example for the rest of the continent in being able to combat the evils of lead.
Esmond, let me come back to you. Tell us more about the work you're doing here. What does it involve? Engagement? Who are you engaging? Are you just engaging government, policymakers? Just tell us more about the work you do in the country.
Right. So Pure Earth has been in and out of Ghana since 2010. We've been working with key stakeholders like government, environmental protection agencies, the Ghana Health Service, mainly to work around the pollution issues. In 2020, we had a lead program launch, which we christened Protecting Every Child Potentials. The idea is to raise awareness around lead pollution and poisoning in children. There's a partnership between UNICEF, Pure Earth, and then it's funded by Claros Foundation, and we are grateful to them for that funding. We have, based on that project, embarked on one of the biggest blood lead level measurement in children under 5 years to ascertain the situation of lead poisoning. We know that lead poisoning is a public health concern in Ghana, but we don't really have baseline data to talk to. And so that has been done. And we've done that in 3 ecological zones in Ghana, the northern part, Ashanti region, and also Greater Accra here. We've also embarked on what we call the home-based assessment to identify the source contamination of lead. And look, it will interest you to know that lead pollution comes in various forms. Paint, in lead in paint in our homes, the toys the kids play with,
oh, wow.
The medicines we take.
I wouldn't have addressed my mind to that. No.
The medicine we take, and in fact, even the apotoiwes we use. We have a special machine called the SRF that actually measures the concentration levels of lead in this.
You don't say?
Yeah, so we've done this across the country as well to give us a sense of the situation of lead pollution in Ghana in general. So we're hoping that in the next month we'll have the data in, and then we can speak to it. Hopefully we'll come back here again.
Please, you should. This is a very interesting conversation. I am interested in, especially when you spoke about toys. All my antennas went up there. So Conrad, I would just like for you to tell us why it's important that we pay attention to this. Let's just go off script a bit.
Sure. The lead issue, I think, is one that is not appreciated around the world for how severe it is. One statistic that just blows my mind is the fact that in the world today, there are 800 million children whose blood lead levels are above acceptable levels. That's 800, that's 1 in every 3 children in the world. And this is a problem that is much more prevalent in lower and middle income countries. So if 1/3 of the children in the world have it, you can be sure that the numbers are much higher throughout the lower and middle income countries. And this is, it's an awful thing. It affects people's intelligence. It increases the level of cardiovascular disease, kidney disease. It robs children of their ability to get the most out of school. It steals money from our economies. Just the children alone and the effects of lead cost the world economy $1 trillion. And it's also been linked to violence. People with elevated levels of lead in their blood have been proven to simply be more violent. And actually around the world, when we removed lead from gasoline, though you wouldn't believe it when you read the newspapers, there was actually a decline in violence in the world. And these are children. They're going to carry these effects with them for their whole lives. So it gives you a little bit of an idea of why this is so important and why I think Esmond and I feel so strongly about it.
It's a really important conversation that needs to be expanded and taken beyond this setup, and I hope that we'll begin to have these conversations because they're very important. But tell us more about the work that Pure Earth has been doing on the global scene and what impact you've been making.
Well, we have actually been working on expanding the kind of work that we're doing here in Ghana around the world. We start, as Esmond was saying, by going out and doing a blood level assessment of the population, try to figure out how big the problem is in that particular country. Then we go through what we call a rapid market survey, where we go out, we survey homes and markets to try to see if we can find where the source of the lead is coming from. And then taking those two things together, we try to put together a plan with the country for how we're going to address the issue. As has been mentioned, it comes from many different areas. When we first started, it was really lead battery recycling, kinds of batteries that you use in your cars. Not something you think about, but something that is actually very, very common in lower and middle income countries, and here in Ghana. It can come in spices. It's used to enhance the color of the spices and also their weight. It can come in lead in pottery, in the glazes that are in pottery, or in pans, the metals that are in the pans. So this is something that we can explore and then put together a program for dealing with. Then we try to work with governments and with local groups to build not only a plan that's sustainable, but one that is well known to the public, because this is something the public needs to know more about. They can be our partners in trying to fight it.
At the height of the conversation on ending galamsey or illegal mining, there were concerns about the kind of metals that or chemicals that were being used, and mercury being the major one, poisoning our water bodies. And Pure Earth has been doing some work in that regard, looking into lead and mercury. Can you just basically tell us what you've been able to find?
Right, thank you very much. So one of our expertise areas is mercury, solving mercury pollution around the world. In Ghana, it's one of the strategic areas for us. We're planning to meet with the Minister of Lands and Forestry to begin that discussion, because when you go to the mining communities, the issues of lead pollution is a big issue. And we have the expertise. We believe the pollution issue can be addressed and can be solved. And so we're engaging the government and other civil society organizations around addressing this issue. We have a 5-step approach to addressing this, and we hope that once we have the opportunity, we can contribute significantly to addressing the mercury pollution in the mining areas.
You said you work closely with the Ghana Health Service and government agencies like the EPA. Can I just walk into a health facility and ask for a test for the lead levels? Because at this point, I'm asking myself, am I at risk? Am I in the safe zone or not?
That's part of the regulatory processes. Work with EPA, of course, Ghana Health Service, to have the necessary test kits available for this. And of course, and that is why we're waiting for The result of the just ended baseline surveys to determine the blood lead levels and also the home-based assessment, then we will definitely engage these organizations. But we are working with them. Ghana Health Service was contracted to undertake this exercise of the blood level testing in children around the country. And so they are very much involved in this, UNICEF, EPA, and so yes, I'm sure that we will definitely find a solution to this going forward. The thing about lead pollution is that little is known about it, but it's endemic in our society. And so we're doing all we can, engaging governments, engaging civil society, and regulatory bodies to shine lights on this.
Would we have to brace ourselves, Conrad, for some major policy shifts, because this may require us probably, like you just said, taking lead out of gasoline in other parts of the world? Should we prepare ourselves for major policy shifts if we want to deal with the lead issue?
I think we will have to, and it is something that is beneficial over the long term, but it will involve some dislocations. And one of the things that Pure Earth really tries to focus on is many of the activities that give rise to this, whether it's battery recycling or gold mining, involve people's livelihoods. And it's all good and well to say that we want to remove these things, but those people still need to have a way of supporting their families. So an important part of our work is to make sure that when we take one livelihood away or we alter that one livelihood, we do it in a way that provides those people the opportunity to feed their families in a different way, whether it's doing the same thing in a different fashion or finding a new job. So I think we're going to need to see more regulation. We're going to see more intervention, but it has to be smart intervention. It has to recognize the necessities of life.
Interesting. I'm enjoying the conversation so much. I don't want it to end because I'm learning a lot, and I'm sure you at home, you're also learning a lot. And how do we access Pure Earth? Are you on social media? Because I like to follow what you're doing and see how I can contribute to help the agenda.
Yes, we are on all the social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and also LinkedIn.
And your handle is just Pure Earth or Pure Earth Ghana?
We have Pure Earth as the global Pure Earth. If you want to access the international channel, and the local channel is Pure Earth Ghana, you can access us.
Right.
Yeah. And there's one thing I needed to just highlight a bit. As part of the work Pure Earth has been doing in Ghana, we embark on what we call a mapping project. And this mapping project sought to identify the toxic areas in Ghana. Currently, we have 217 toxic areas in Ghana.
When you say toxic areas, what do you mean?
So these are the areas that are heavily polluted by heavy metals, like lead and mercury. And currently, we've adopted a place in Bremai in Ashanti region, which we're going to clean up. I think the organization is spending almost $70,000 to clean that piece of land that is contaminated by lead. We'll get in touch once we are ready to move on.
Yeah, we should work more. And I want to know if I live in a toxic place.
We actually have a database. We actually have a database that you can actually go in, and that's why we're partnering with government, working with government like-minded organizations to help us clean some of these toxic sites that affect our livelihood, our lives, and just as the board chair indicated, it's the consequences of these toxic pollutions are dire.
I'll let you have the final word. What's your dream? What's the big dream for Pure Earth? All this hustle, traveling, coming over here, spending $70,000 and more across the world. What's your heartbeat? What do you want to see?
What we would love to see is a world that is free of toxic pollution so that people can be healthy and reach their full potentials. And unfortunately, it's a big ask, but I think we're up to it. Definitely, and you have at least my support, yeah? And I'm sure that the people at home who are willing to push or put their weight behind what you do, and we hope that our governments will understand and appreciate the situation at hand. Thank you so much. Conrad Maya is board chair of Pure Earth and Blacksmith Initiative, and Esmond Kwanzaa is country director, Pure Earth Ghana. And we've been talking about the work they do here in Ghana globally, the importance of dealing with this lead poisoning issue. If you're not aware, I'm sure you've learned something today, how it affects especially children and their cognitive abilities, and you know the impact in the future. So just find Pure Earth on social media, follow them, support their work, and hopefully we will achieve that dream Conrad Maya talks about. You're watching the AM show. We'll be getting interactive shortly. Please stay.
Thank you.